Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. My name is Sam Seder. This is the five-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, 700 Marines deployed to the foreign land of Los Angeles against the LAPD wishes, as Trump is looking to see what he can get away with. Meanwhile, National Guard troops already deployed to LA, sleeping on floors as Hegseth shows evil and incompetent not mutually exclusive. Speaking of Hegseth, he's testifying today in Congress, has a couple of other committees to visit this week as well. Speaking of the House is revising the reconciliation bill without a vote so that it passes the parliamentarians' bird rules in the Senate. Trump regime asks SCOTUS to neutralize the Convention Against Torture.
Oh, we're back, baby. Bush era.
I mean,
it's all coming together.
This is actually more about immigration, but still. Secretary of Anti-Vax, RFK Jr., fires the entire CDC vaccine panel experts, despite his promise in nomination hearings to not do so. Donald Trump has all but eliminated the Department of Justice's political corruption unit. And Justice KBJ warns that the Supreme Court of the United States is manipulating its rules to benefit Donald Trump. Good news, two new polls show Mamdani gaining on Cuomo in the New York mayor's race.
Wow! I don't know what that noise was.
I'm not sure either.
It's excitement.
I got to turn down the earphones. New study in Pediatric Journal of American Medical Association shows that relaxation of gun control laws leads to more pediatric deaths.
That's a shocker.
And in what could turn out to be pretty good news, the Genius Act has stalled in the Senate. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us. It is
Newsday Tuesday.
Newsday Tuesday,
Hello,
and
hello.
is in fact pretty newsy.
Lots of news.
And Creof Lawlader says, Happy Newsday Tuesday, folks. Today is primary day in New Jersey. I voted for Baraka for governor and Emma Vigeland for Monmouth County Sheriff.
Thank you.
Did not realize that
I hope I get elected.
that would have been, if elected, you will accept.
I will accept.
Right? Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Also, I think it's Creflo Dollar. Who was that?
The prosperity gospel guy.
Oh, right.
Wait,
right.
what?
Right.
Creflo Dollar.
He was a prosperity gospel pastor.
I don't know what.
From
is
your
it?
time.
That's the name of the IMer.
Oh. I had no idea. I don't pay attention to the IMs.
Okay,
I just
well,
read them off.
I just was trying to think, like,
I had no idea what
what's
this
that
was a reference to, and I was like wondering if I had completely forgotten this whole thing.
Well,
I mean, it's possible.
it was a funny story from like 10 years ago.
I don't remember that guy. But nevertheless, things were a little bit quieter in Los Angeles, at least in terms of the protests. not in terms of ICE raiding schools, arresting people at courts, whatnot. I mean, they are ongoing. We have more military coming in, despite the fact that California is now suing the federal government for its federalization of the National Guard. Here is Pete Hegseth. He is at the House Oversight Subcommittee on Defense. This is just a coincidence. I mean, he was due to testify in front of these committee hearings, both this and I believe in part because of the budget stuff that they're working on, but also just sort of in the due course of things. He's going to be talking to a couple other committees this week.
This is the second time this has happened. Don't you remember when Tulsi Gabbard was in front of it was a coincidental hearing, and that's when Signalgate had just broken, I believe?
Yes. Now, we don't have any clips of Hegseth being asked yet about his own Signalgate. Mm-hmm. And then the subsequent NSA spying gate that was associated in who they fired for supposedly leaking about his use of Signal. And it turns out that there was an internal lie about whether they had been wiretapped. We will have those clips for you likely tomorrow. In the meantime, here is Hegseth explaining the circumstance where he feels he can send in the military under what circumstances. And understand, people have been saying this for a long time. This is playing out very much like the, people who have been concerned about Trump's authoritarianism and fascism said. I mean, really, since the day that Pete Hegseth was nominated, people said the reason why Trump is doing this is because Esper in his first term and the generals were reluctant to put military on the streets in the United States to attack civilians. And the other piece of speculation was that this is the way they were going to do this. They were going to go in, they were going to do mass roundups of people, of undocumented immigrants, of documented immigrants, of immigrants who are in the process of seeking documentation, people who have been in this country for, in some instances, decades, a whole raft of people who are not citizens. Now, citizens have been swept up because they made the mistake of going around being all Latino.
Right.
But, and not only citizens of this country, but people who are visiting were accidentally, because they also made the mistake. I saw this in New York just the other day, making the mistake of speaking Spanish and looking Latino can get you swept up by by ICE
in New York City.
In New York City,
this level of bigotry is just really horrible, and I think
Hysteria.
about all our Latino friends, brothers, and sisters who walk around with fear or walk around with their papers or can't speak Spanish in public. It's disgusting what this country is doing to you right now.
Now, to be fair, they've also rolled up a couple of white immigrants. So, they're
Middle Eastern immigrants also
Middle
being
Eastern.
targeted.
Oh, yes. I mean, of course. I mean, everybody who's brown is definitely high on the list, but they have rolled up a couple of, I think, of European immigrants, et cetera. But here's Pete Hegseth trying to justify the military being deployed. And again, this is without the ask of any California officials, not the governor, not the mayor of LA, not the police commissioner of LA. In fact, they're suing to have them leave, whether it's the federalization of the National Guard or the Marines.
This is Pete Hegseth with Pete Aguilar of California.
exactly what we're doing, and we're proud to do it. We're proud to do it.
10 U.S.C. of the U.S. Code 12406 as a legal basis that the president used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers.
All right, pause it. Go back. I want people to listen to these three things that he's saying, have been these 3 elements of the threshold that have supposedly been surpassed. Invasion by a foreign nation. I mean, we know what an invasion is. We know what a foreign nation is. It's a nation, right?
Yeah.
Like, we used to have a problem. We used to have a fear in this country of non-state actors. Terrorists who would attack who were non-state actors. That didn't mean that they didn't have a nationality. It meant that they were acting on their own. So there was a time in this country where we understood that you could be from a country, but not be the country.
Right.
When it came to national security. Apparently, that's no longer the case.
But California used to be part of Mexico, so actually, if you think about it, it's been invaded since it was.
Yes,
it's existed.
I mean, that's all true. But those folks who have come from Mexico, or parents who had come from Mexico, or grandparents who had come from Mexico, represent an invasion by Mexico no more than I represent an invasion of Vilnius, Lithuania, of this country.
I'm invading from Finland and Norway. We're coming for you, folks.
And you guys are known for this.
Oh, my gosh. We have a history. It's in our DNA. It's the whole Viking thing. I mean, you should measure my skull, see if I'm eligible for deportation.
A rebellion against the government.
Right.
The LAPD represent the Los Angeles government. We have heard from the mayor of Los Angeles. We have heard from the commissioner of the LAPD. We have heard from the governor of California. If they were not aware of a rebellion against them, maybe there's no rebellion. And the president unable with regular forces to execute the laws, 50, 75 people have been arrested by the LAPD for violent acts during the protest. In some instances, not even violent acts, just, standing in front of a car, which is a non-violent act, unless you're getting hit by the car, which we've seen. But let's hear these again, because Hexus says all 3.
That the president used cites 3 examples and circumstances for the Guard: invasion by a foreign nation, rebellion or dangerous rebellion against the authority of the government of the United States, or the president is unable with regular forces to execute the laws of the United States. Which authority is triggered here to justify the use?
I don't know. You just read it yourself, and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all 3 to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers.
Pause it. I'm sorry. Again, who are the millions of illegals waving flags? Is that what we're supposed to believe? Is that there's been millions of people on the street in LA and that they're all illegals?
I mean, if you're waving an Israel flag, I'm imagining that this applies to you, right? You can't be waving foreign flags in the United States of America.
Do people wave the Israeli flag in New York? Is that
in New York? I've seen a few.
I'm
going to report them to ICE.
I'm being facetious.
I know.
Go ahead.
I mean, Irish flags, Italian flags, all around here.
Confederate flags, some places.
Yeah, good point.
Here to justify the use.
I don't know. You just read it yourself and people can listen themselves, but it sounds like all three to me. If you've got millions of illegals and you don't know where they're coming from, they're waving flags from foreign countries and assaulting police officers and law enforcement officers. That's the problem.
The laws of the United States.
No, the governor of California is unable to execute the laws of the United States.
The president, you said all
three apply. The governor of the California has failed to protect his people, along with the mayor of Los Angeles, and so President Trump has said he will protect our agents, and our Guard and Marines are proud to do it. The law also says, Mr. Secretary, that the orders for these purposes shall be issued through governors of the states. You and I both know that President Trump has all the authorities necessary, and thankfully he's willing to do it on behalf of the citizens of Los Angeles, on behalf of our ICE agents, and behalf of our country.
We've also
got him there. I mean, that wasn't the question where he said that the governor is unable to faithfully execute the laws. That's not the threshold. That's what applies to the president. That's supposed to be able to give him this authority. There's just like, there's some confusion a little bit about the laws that are being used here, and I just want people to be clear about this. They haven't yet invoked the Insurrection Act, which seems to be something that they're like openly teasing, but it's more of like a break glass in case of an emergency situation, because that would supersede the Comitatus Act that we spoke about yesterday, which was like a Reconstruction era law that prevented the United States like military from federal military force from doing civilian law enforcement. But you can supersede that if you are going to invoke the Insurrection Act. Now, that would have applied to the active duty troops that Hegseth had tweeted out that they were going to deploy. If Trump invoked this thing called 10 U.S.C. 12406, that allows him to federalize the Guard, and typically you ask for the input of the governor, but you don't have to, as LBJ did in 1965 when he was trying to protect civil rights marchers. So Trump did it for the first time since then, but he hasn't gone all the way to invoke the Insurrection Act, which would be a huge escalation and also would be difficult for them legally because they have to prove that there's an invasion and this is wartime for him to execute the Insurrection Act.
And my understanding is, and I'm not sure that what the specifics were in which LBJ under that authority federalized the National Guard to protect the marchers, or as much as federal authorities who were with the marchers. Because my understanding is that under that the law you cited, the federal troops can only protect federal buildings. Yes. Or federal authorities who are attempting to do their work. So theoretically, the National Guard federalized could accompany ICE in this instance in their pursuit of undocumented immigrants. That's what that law allows it to do. So, and that's where we're at. Yeah. And so, but
it's just such a narrow statute compared to like what the scale of what they're speaking about. They haven't done that yet.
Well, they're purposely trying to conflate the things.
Yes.
And even sending 700 Marines, where here's this picture of the National Guard. They completely were unprepared for the National Guard, the 2,000 National Guards people that they deployed. They're sleeping outside under nothing. They're sleeping in just these rooms. They have no food. They have no supplies. And the idea that they needed to deploy another 700 Marines, ostensibly because they couldn't deploy other National Guardsmen quick enough, when there is nothing for these National Guardsmen to do at this point. Like, the speculation is like, what federal buildings remain that the Marines can protect? And here's the other thing. And I've heard this now from, we had an emailer who is, maybe I'll read this when we come back. But also a piece written by David Day and some on the ground reporting he did yesterday. We're talking about essentially a 5-block radius in Los Angeles which in a place that is so sprawling, where like 20 minutes is, you can do a trip of 20 minutes like 12 times in LA, going from one end to the other, essentially. This is not a situation where like the entire city has to be on lockdown. Yesterday I said, 80% of LA isn't even aware of what's going on at any given moment because it's so removed. And this emailer corrected me and said, and despite the fact disagreeing with some of the other stuff that we had to say, 98% of LA has no idea what's going on at any given time. It's so isolated.
But the reason you all know about it, and you've probably seen the same image over and over again when you open your phone, is that the new corporate media in our lives that's affecting the way that we see the world is social media. We know from reporting with Cambridge Analytica and other things that these algorithms that Facebook, Meta, Instagram, right, Twitter now too, definitely use are there to incite outrage or strong reactions, and political content does well, especially if it's inflammatory on the way that these algorithms are designed. So there is like this local newsification of our social media right now that is contributing to the reactionary moment that we're in. And these tech oligarchs that are in bed with the Trump administration are a part of crafting their media companies, which is what they are at this point, to favor the narratives that benefit the candidates that they like. And there should be way more awareness about what is being shown to you and what isn't. It's the same almost in terms of like how people are absorbing it as editorial discretion on other news networks.
Why are these soldiers here? Because so ICE can raid a Home Depot for people who are just trying to, I don't know, put some tiling in, and the community might get upset at them for that. We need to have troops on the ground for that. This entire thing is a Nazi-like lie to put people's attention on immigrants when everyone's lives have been destroyed by banks and capitalists and the investment class. Like, it's so transparent. We've already lived through this in world history. Why is this not so obvious to people?
I mean, a decent amount of Trump voters voted to round up all immigrants. And
right,
that's what Stephen Miller's plan has always been. And part of the way that they will need to do that, if they're going to do that, is to have troops on the ground in every city. And you do not get to there from here without going through this.
And how do you get to there? How do you sell the public on getting to there? You call these people who are your neighbors, who are look at Home Depot looking for work, who are other Americans. They're Americans too. You make them into criminals. You demonize them. And that's what part of what the tech right is doing in concert with the administration. And we should be talking about it, I think, a little bit more.
We got to take a break, read some words from our sponsors, and then we will talk more about these things and more. Father's Day is this weekend, folks. Well, so why don't you tell my kids that? Instead of a pair of New Balances, get your dad something he's going to love. Some sticky, dank hemp flour from Sunset Lake CBD. If your dad waxes poetic about the good old days of wacky tobacco, as it were, he'll love hemp flour. It only contains a little bit of THC, which means all of the relaxation with none of the freak out that we used to have back in the day.
Right.
Right now, when you shop with the code DADGRASS, one word, you can save 40% on all of Sunset Lake's hemp flour products. Plus, they'll ship them directly to your dad's door. Or hey, if your dad's a Trumper and you need a little help getting through a conversation with him, get yourself some hemp flour.
Good advice.
Yep. for this dad, I will occasionally have a pre-roll after I have like a meal. You know, back in the day, I was a bit of a smoker of a bunch of different things. And after a meal, one might do that. I'm less inclined these days just because, well, I mean, you know, the THC is stronger than it was when I was a kid.
It's no joke. Yeah.
And I don't have the opportunity to check out for a couple hours.
Understood.
So I'll have one of the pre-rolls. But also, I understand that sometimes you can take some of this smokables and mix it with other smokables too. They got keef, they got a bunch of other stuff. So check it out. The sale ends June 15th at midnight, so don't wait. Gift your dad something he'll love. Head over to sunsetlakesabada.com. Use the code DADGRASS for 40% off all smokable hemp flower products. 40% off. This is the time to try it. If you've never tried it, this is the time to try it. See their site for terms and conditions. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Also, going online without ExpressVPN is like driving without car insurance. You might be a great driver, but with all the crazy people on the road these days, who would take that risk? There's always been crazy people, let's be honest, on the road. I'd like to thank ExpressVPN for supporting the Majority Report. Here's the deal. Visit expressvpn.com/majority. You can get up to 4 extra months free. Every time you connect to a public network, and you all do, believe me, your online data is not secure. Any hacker on the same network can gain access to and steal your passwords, your bank logins, your credit card details, everything you want to protect. Hackers can make up to $1,000 per person selling personal info on the dark web. ExpressVPN stops hackers from stealing your data by creating a secure encrypted tunnel between your device and the internet. Super secure. It would take a hacker with a supercomputer over 1 billion years to get past ExpressVPN's encryption. And you're rarely on a public Wi-Fi for that long.
Right.
1 billion years would be
Very
a
long.
long time.
Yes.
It is super easy to use. You fire up the app, you click one button, you get protected. It works on all your devices, phones, laptops, tablets, and more, so you can stay secure on the go. I use ExpressVPN whenever I'm traveling because, you get into those airports, you get a Wi-Fi.
Right.
In the subway, you got a Wi-Fi. I guess that's traveling. But any place where there's any type of public Wi-Fi, you got to use it. And then I just use it at home more often than not because why wouldn't I? It's so easy. Secure your online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/majority. That's EXPRESSVPN.com/majority to find out how you can get up to 4 extra months free. expressvpn.com/majority. Okay. Let's get back to Pete Hegseth. Here is Hegseth. Or we should start with, here is a local news report from ABC News 7. Just to give you a sense of like what people are protesting against, why they are getting angry in many instances. The vast majority of the protests have been very peaceful. What's that?
5, yeah.
Yeah, what did I say? Oh, 5, sorry. The vast majority of the protests have been peaceful. Even if it just means they're peacefully running away from flashbangs and
tear gas.
Peacefully getting hit by a rubber bullet.
But understand, like, imagine your kids are at school and they come home and they say ICE was there looking to talk to first graders or third graders or sixth graders, or they raided the graduation ceremonies. I gotta think, even if you're sort of like a perfectly secure sitting in Westchester County in New York, that there would be some angry response to ICE doing this kind of thing in your neighborhood. Here is ABC News 7.
Lingering fear in the LAUSD community after an unusual and disturbing visit. Several federal agents from the Department of Homeland Security showed up at 2 elementary schools this week demanding to talk to students. What happened next has Superintendent Alberto Carvalho praising school workers and demanding answers. Eyewitness News reporter Sophie Flay explains.
What interest should a Homeland Security agent have in a first grader?
On Monday, multiple Homeland Security agents showed up at 2 elementary schools in Los Angeles, according to LAUSD Superintendent Alberto Carvalho. These agents were stopped, questioned, and turned away by principals at Lillian Elementary and Russell Elementary schools, both in the Florence Graham neighborhood.
They wanted access to the students to determine their well-being, based on, according to the agents, the fact that when they entered this country, they entered as unaccompanied minors. It is well known that these students are under the care of relatives.
According to Carvalho, the agents claimed they were not part of immigration and customs enforcement.
They conveyed to both principals that the parents or the legal guardians in charge of these children had provided them authorization for access to these kids in school. That is absolutely, blatantly untrue.
These agents asked specific questions about students ranging from 1st to 6th grade. The superintendent says they arrived in unmarked vehicles and wore casual clothing.
When the principals attempted to write down details about their IDs, they quickly hid their IDs.
All parents from these schools were notified about these incidents. Ahead of the November election, LAUSD staff were trained in protocols to protect students from federal agents showing up at schools.
We wonder if this may happen at more schools, if they simply will ram through. So we are having to really lean on the principals, the workers, the teachers, the clerical workers.
Okay, so we're now asking of our schools that not only do you have to protect from the potential of a mass shooting event, but you have to deal with plainclothes, maybe ICE people, won't show their IDs, show up in unmarked cars. This is happening all across the country. It's happening all across the country. Wearing masks, we don't know.
Yeah.
And now these schools have to deal with this. And here is one of the problems with ICE officials showing up in unmarked cars, sometimes with no license plates. Unmarked cars, in plain clothes, or just wearing something they could have bought at like an Army-Navy store, frankly.
Like that guy who picked up Mahmoud Khalil in a freaking Marvel t-shirt.
Or
But I'm sorry, like you can go right down the street here on Flatbush, 3 blocks down, and buy cop outfits.
Oh, yeah.
essentially. And not showing their IDs and wearing masks. And here's what happens. This is a story from Philadelphia.
Okay, this is just video, but I saw this story. We can pull down the... So basically, this is a car repair business. And I think this is the same story, but there's apparently the suspect zip-tied a 50-year-old woman and was
Somebody came
robbed.
in posing essentially as an ICE.
Robbed this like auto repair shop and was posing as ICE. And we're going to see more and more of this.
I don't think this is the first time I've heard of this happening in recent months.
I can't think of a situation that is more primed for predators and people who want to sexually assault children, women, whatever. I can't think of a bigger gift to them. You also know that these resources federally that are going to taking these law enforcement people and putting them towards immigration to meet these insane quotas that Stephen Miller has, that they're having to drop or understaff real investigations into things like human trafficking or like even terrorism, because this is where the administration's priorities are.
Got to research these schools.
There's also reports, and we heard this in February, that Kristi Noem wanted to deputize IRS agents because they're looking for as many federal authorities as they can. If you are an IRS agent or have firsthand knowledge of an IRS agent having to go work for ICE, send us an email at majorityreporters@gmail.com, or get a Proton email. Maybe we got to set up that Signal channel we've been talking about. But here is Gavin Newsom on the deployment of military to L.A. Gavin Newsom, not necessarily my favorite person, but the point is he is the governor of California, and his state is challenging Trump's use of the military in this instance, which is going to be an important precedent to set. And hopefully it'll happen quickly. If you are to believe Ketanji Brown Jackson, Supreme Court Justice, it probably won't move as quickly as some of other things involving Trump. When Trump wants the Supreme Court to act quickly, that shadow docket immediately responds. When anybody else does, it seems to be very, very slow. But
and to your point, though, about how Newsom, not our favorite person, but it's important to have this on the books. The memorandum that Trump put out that basically authorized this did not specify. There have been a number of legal writers who've pointed this out. Did not specify a particular state. Did not just say that this is for California. So this memorandum could be, in theory, used for other states. So it's important that California, given its size and population, stands up in this way.
You think things are now under control?
For the moment, but they're not about to be. He just called up another 2,000 National Guard, so it's now 4,000. And we're getting word that he's looking to operationalize that relationship and advance significantly larger scale ICE operations in partnership and collaboration with the National Guard. We're on the other side now of the red line. And I haven't even mentioned the self-evident major escalation, which is next level. And that is the Secretary of Defense just moments ago tweeting out that he's quote unquote deploying 700 active military to Los Angeles. And unless he just done it, I have not seen the Insurrection Act formally advanced, but by definition, this would require the Insurrection Act.
Yeah, I mean, I saw you have now filed suit to protest the federalizing of the California National Guard. These 700 Marines who are apparently being sent to Los Angeles, is there a legal avenue for you to challenge that deployment?
Well, unless he opposes the Insurrection Act, just blatantly unconstitutional. It's not even a close call. And so we're going to immediately try to seek a TRO, an injunction to stop this completely reckless, immoral, yes, but completely illegal and unconstitutional act. And I'll remind folks, this is an act not just against the people here in Los Angeles, against the people here in the state of California, but against Americans all across this country, against the principles of our founding father that did not live and die to watch these authoritarian tendencies in action. And let me be now even more specific. The absurdity of this cannot be understated. There were 2,000 National Guard that were, quote unquote, deployed, of which only 315 actually were mission assigned. 1,700 have no particular role or responsibility. Yesterday, local law enforcement had to protect the National Guard. The additional 2,000 National Guard men and women that President Trump now is redeploying are being taken away. It's the 79th Infantry. These are I know these folks well. You know these folks well. These are the folks, these are the National Guard men and women that have been out there protecting you here in Southern California during the fires, after the fires. We are now taking many of them off assignments on forest management, protecting communities, vulnerable communities against summer and wildfire season. We're removing them from task forces that we've created to deal with fentanyl interdiction. I have 394 National Guard men and women down at the border. I imagine they may even be pulled for this theatrical display of toughness by a president of the United States who's unhinged and has now crossed a red line in this country, and he has nationalized this order. This is not an order against this state. This is an order that can be imposed now all across the United States.
There you have it.
Accurate explanation by Newsom, and also about the concern broadly about this being a testing ground. I think I saw Karen Bass say something similar, and there's many issues with how they've responded to crises, including this one where there's some criticism on the ground about like Karen Bass being weak on this. So this is not to let them off the hook, obviously, but she said that basically it seems like this is a laboratory, what they're doing in California, to see
without a doubt
what they can get away with across the country.
Without a doubt. Let's cue up this one I just put in the IM, because here is Trump. You just heard Gavin Newsom say that 1,700 of the 2,000 are just sitting around, and that the National Guard are actually having to be protected now by the police department.
Right.
They have nothing to do. They have nothing to do under the auspices in which they were sent. And here is Donald Trump claiming that the police couldn't handle it, when in fact the police were the ones who ended up protecting the National Guard. Good.
Engagement. All I want is safety. I just want a safe area. Los Angeles was under siege until we got there. The police were unable to handle it. You could speak to the chief. He said it on television 3 nights ago. He said, this is more than we can handle. They said that. And the LA police, I know a lot of the police in LA, they're good.
That is exactly not what the police chief has said. The police chief has put out written statements saying, we don't need this. Go ahead.
This is more than we can handle. They said that. And the LA police, I know a lot of the police in LA, they're good, they're great people, but they're given instructions not to do this, not to do that. But in this case, they were trying their best. They were not able to handle it. It was out of control. When we got there, and you have to remember, I've been here before, and I went right by every rule, and I waited for governors to say, send in the National Guard. They wouldn't do it. They wouldn't. Engagement. All I want is...
They wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't do it. Like, which is it? They said that they needed the help, or they said they didn't need the help? Incidentally, this is the same guy who, when it comes to FEMA, here, play this clip. This is in the same press conference that Trump had just gave moments ago. He's saying that he needs to send it in despite the fact that the governor, the mayor, and the police chief said we don't need this help. And here he is talking about disaster relief.
Thank you very much, great job, everybody. So we want to wean off of FEMA, and we want to bring it down to the state level. A little bit like education, we're moving it back to the states. So the governors can handle it. That's why they're governors now. If they can't handle it, they shouldn't be governor. But these governors can handle it, and they'll work in conjunction with other governors. They'll give each other a hand. But
okay, so there it is now. When it comes to a hurricane, a flood, earthquake, tornadoes, you guys got this. Listen,
give each other a hand.
It's just, I mean, contemplate the notion of each of these states. Many of them are red states, of course. Contemplate the notion of each of them having to have a dedicated rescue operations, dedicated emergency workers. And I'm not saying like, the numbers they have now, they obviously have some. But how many do you think come in the wake of a hurricane or massive tornadoes or floods? 2 times the personnel? 3 times? 5 times? What about all the trailers, the specialized trailers? Are states supposed to just sort of maintain these things, buy them all, maintain them, do upkeep, hire people to service them? Of course they won't. Of course they won't.
Well, they would. This is probably Trump trying to push them towards privatization.
Yeah, I mean,
like down in New Orleans, and we saw how that worked in Hurricane Katrina.
Yep.
Even with like a completely, anemic federal response, and
so on one hand, Trump is sort of shoving the National Guard down the throats of folks in California who have specifically said don't do it, and then pulling back resources for things like real emergencies. I mean, that's the story of what's going on here. And here is Trump was that this morning or yesterday?
Yesterday. Bring in
the troops, says Trump. And of course, there's Charlie Kirk.
Saying bring in the troops. There we go.
Charlie Kirk is all geeked up.
What? Could they borrow some of the buses that you used on January 6th?
Yeah, exactly.
I think this was over the weekend, by the way, but
Maybe say it is the
June
9th.
9th.
Yeah.
does it say there? Oh, okay.
And then this is also, I mean, past the big, beautiful bill, this is, how they're trying to shore up all the support as you have the Hawks versus the dead Hawks versus the tax cut people. Well, you're anti-American. You support the invasion if you don't pass the BBB.
What's the part that we're supposed to team up with Charlie Kirk about? Is it that he's anti-war? I can't remember now. What is it? What is it that I know we're supposed to have a beer with him, but what is it that we're supposed to join Charlie Kirk in doing?
It's really tough to remember at this point, I gotta say.
You still have that ka-ching sound effect? Could answer things.
Honestly,
Speaking
what is
of
it that
Gavin
we're supposed to?
Newsom.
What is it
And
we're
that.
supposed to?
But right, isn't it? Right. I was reminded of that fluffy interview that Gavin Newsom conducted, the governor, on his podcast with Charlie Kirk.
Exactly.
Right? Yes.
Hey, Gavin, how'd that work out?
How'd it work out, buddy?
Why didn't Newsom just call Charlie Kirk and say, "Hey, man, we're gonna pod again? Let's do this," instead of like we can have
so
a
much
debate.
in common, as you're basically saying, send in the troops over your newfound buddy's objection. Insane.
Pizza Dog. Local news confirming ICE raids at South Omaha meatpacking plants, liberal city in a red state, Don Bacon's district. We have yet to see widespread ICE enforcement in a lot of the key red districts in red states.
Yep.
My understanding is Kristi Noem, I remember reports from like early in this administration, Kristi Noem apparently had a lot of people maybe at her farm.
Undocumented folks. There's targeting. They want to make a big display in cities because, of course, that's the decay of multiculturalism. And then they're going to move on to meet their quotas elsewhere. But this was all about the pretext of, setting up and expanding their authority and their power.
I have just a late edition here. Zoran gave a press conference, and Dave Weigel clipped an interesting part of it, just 20 seconds here about what America needs as from mayors in this moment.
Yeah.
It is authoritarianism. It is an example of what the Trump administration is already doing across this country and hopes to bring to cities from coast to coast. What we deserve in this moment is a mayor who can look that authoritarianism in the eye and not see a reflection of themselves.
Ooh.
They're next to him, Chiose, guest for tomorrow on this program. So
oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Cuomo's out there going like, wait, what? Wait.
Cuomo's the guy who got us through COVID by putting all those people in nursing homes to die.
All right, let's just check in on this. We'll do number 18. Do we have not 18? Do we have any footage out of the flotilla? I guess we don't. We know that I enjoy the wording of the way this was reported, that Greta Thunberg was deported from Israel. She wasn't going to Israel.
She was kidnapped.
She was kidnapped, brought to Israel, and then deported from Israel. And she was put on a plane.
Which, by the way, like, so Greta doesn't fly out of objections due to climate change and fossil fuels. It's why she sailed across the Atlantic to come to the U.S. at one point, and it's why the flotilla was a sailboat that took off from southern Italy to go to Gaza. This is a way to humiliate her, I'm sure. Like,
I got this from a Zionist, like, innovation minister who's like, hope you enjoy the service.
This is what they got out of it. They got some photo of her on a plane. With her autism diagnosis, I have to say that she's putting herself in a lot of really stressful, to put it mildly, situations. Her bravery can't be overstated. But they at least, she's safe at the very least, because they bombed the original flotilla that was supposed to go and take her around a month and a half ago.
Let's check and see what the anti-war president, Donald Trump, has to say about this woman who was on a boat with food, medical supplies,
prosthetic
limbs for children, and other humanitarian supplies, period. I mean, that's it. Food. And let's listen to what the anti-war president, Donald Trump, has to say about this.
Do you have a message for Greta Thunberg, and did she come up on your call with the Prime Minister today?
Well, she's a strange person. She's a young, angry person. I don't know if it's real anger. It's hard to believe, actually, but I saw what happened. She's certainly different. Anger management. I think she has to go to an anger management class. That's my primary recommendation for her.
Was she kidnapped by Israel, as she says? Was she kidnapped?
I find it. I think Israel has enough problems without kidnapping Greta Thunberg.
And secondly, are you going to
Is that what she said? She was kidnapped by Israel?
Yes, sir.
I mean, how did she get to Israel? How did she get to Israel? They were taking a boat to Gaza.
They were in international waters. They were marked as a UK ship. Israel has no jurisdiction, but they did it anyway because right now we're in the era of the rule of the jungle, and Israel has all of our weapons. And like Trump seemed kind of fed. I can tell but the reporting is that he's fed up with Netanyahu. But we've heard this before with Biden. Like I don't take that more than just like, okay, that's interesting. And he seems exacerbated with Israel there, but he's too stupid and he's too racist against Palestinians to like actually do anything to bring Israel to heel. He's never gonna, I don't think, halt weapons to Israel. So then what is all of this for?
I don't even think he was actually taken. I first saw that in isolation. It sounded like he was being condescending to Israel. I think he was awkwardly actually being condescending about Greta.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah.
We heard one relatively bat crap person comment on the Greta Thunberg trip. Let's listen to one who is even more bat crap crazy. What is the status of Russell Brand's legal proceedings regarding the claims of, I think it's multiple women that he sexually assaulted them?
I've been wondering about that. I think he's back in the UK. I'm not sure if he's facing charges or what's going on.
No, they brought charges against him.
I know they did. I'm not sure if that's why he's back there.
I saw he was baptized. Is that?
Well, no.
legal?
I wanted to see.
Sentence served.
I actually wanted to see if we could have a graph that had days until he was indicted on the one axis,
Mm-hmm.
and then amount of religiousness on the other axis to see where they would intersect.
So Russell Brand, host of Stay Free on Rumble, is
Stay Free
is the
where that
interesting name there.
Wish fulfillment.
He's out on conditional bail after pleading not guilty to rape and assault.
Okay, well,
5 charges.
Innocent until proven guilty. But I'm also willing to forgive him if he becomes super religious and gives himself over to the Lord our Savior and repents. I mean, not really, but
I mean, at least on
that's
camera.
a theory.
That's what he's betting on.
He should have to put a shirt on at the very least.
Yeah, well, that's something.
Interesting wearing sunglasses again. But yeah, here he is talking about Greta.
You cynical, filthy Europeans. Israel seizes Gaza-bound activist boat and detains Greta Thunberg. And here is Greta Thunberg being captured while delivering food to Gaza. Let's have a look.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden.
Well, firstly, we've all been saying it wrong. I mean, I know that's an unsayable sound. I didn't know that. My name is
I am from Sweden. If you see this video,
That
we have
doesn't
been.
seem terribly Christian to mock people that way.
Jesus loves speaking in tongues, Sam.
It's funny. He seems to have like come back around after the
old Russ looks a little bit back right now.
Yeah, he's a little bit back after the indictment. Back out on probation.
Wearing sunglasses indoors.
I'm back out on probation. The Lord has not protected me in the way that I thought he did. So maybe I have to go back to my other means of generating revenue.
Let's find an apolitical way of attacking this young woman.
From Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters.
Right, let's go and get her now. She's been intercepted. We've got to go and get Greta Thunberg. Get her! Rescue Greta! Cancel that shot, you lunatic.
That's a guy named Jeff.
We've got to rescue her now. Back to quick! I like that. I like the sort of casual grandiosity of that.
She's shocked too. She's just like, I can't believe we're captured. She didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Can you?
It's crazy.
Are they dumb? She pre-recorded that video, obviously, and submitted it. And I think Prem Talker was the reporter who she sent it to.
Because they thought it might happen, yeah.
To release it when it happens. That's what happens all the time.
Also, just to
In
say,
war,
like, they got arrested at international waters.
I'm sorry. You know, what they're saying is absolutely ridiculous, but I'm trying to imagine that guy in the hat and everybody else on the set when Russell Brand shows up wearing a kimono and...
know,
are we ready to shoot?
Here.
Are we ready to shoot? I've taken off my clothes now. Are we ready to
Can
shoot?
you see the cross? Is the cross visible, mate? Hey, mate.
Can you see my abs? How's my six-pack going?
Wait.
I'm ready to talk about the news now.
No.
Let me get my nipples erect, and then we'll talk about the news.
There you go, MR out of context.
Thank you.
Look, on one level, I really like Greta Thunberg. I admire people that will pursue their ideology. Do you think that we should find compassion in our hearts for people we disagree with? For example, I do believe that climate change is being exploited to legitimize new measures of control, and that Greta Thunberg is promoted by
control of things like Exxon, for instance.
Right. We're losing day by day our ability to drill wherever we want.
He has
new forms of control.
Russell has lost his ability, or at least to drill wherever he wants without consent. That's true.
Whoa!
I was a little hesitant to do the rape joke, but I went for it.
He deserves it.
Yeah.
Yep.
by the culture because she somehow perfectly represents a sort of pagan idea of Cassandra, a hysterical figure on the edge of the culture. How dare you? How dare you? She does a brilliant job. All of us at different points have been deployed by the culture. I myself was used for a while as a sort of hedonistic playboy individual promoting...
Sorry, I just have to jump in here.
I was used, wouldn't it? It might be.
It's a good thing I'm not being used no more, mate.
Right.
He is on a platform that is owned by Donald Trump's Commerce Secretary, as he speaks right now, Rumble, a.k.a. Cantor Fitzgerald Acquisition Corporation number 6. That is Rumble. It's owned by Trump's like, maybe you're still being used, mate. Maybe there's some agendas being served right now. Have a new one, mate.
But I do like him, oh, I was used in the past.
Incidentally, I'm not being used as a sex symbol anymore. I just like it's a little bit warm in this studio.
The paganism.
I'm sorry. My kimono, it chafes my nipples, so I've got to keep my shirt open.
Sandra, a hysterical figure on the edge of the culture. How dare you? How dare you? She does a brilliant job. All of us at different points have been deployed by the culture. I myself was used for a while as a sort of hedonistic playboy individual promoting decadence and promiscuity, which worked out very well for me, I have to say. So Greta Thunberg, she's I have to respect the fact that she is so committed
so much respect.
to
So he was used by the culture, and that's part of the problem.
He was used by big promiscuity,
Right.
to promote promiscuity.
So the Hollywood cabal made him into an alleged rapist.
the devil made him promiscuous.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
the culture made him ask a man or brag about having sex with a man's daughter on the phone to him on the BBC radio. That's what the culture was making him do.
The devil is everywhere.
I have to respect the fact that she is so committed to virtue and what she believes to be true, even if I feel like she's being moved about on the chessboard by powers that have a deeper and more articulate understanding of the reality upon which she comments. But maybe that's true of all of us, continually true of all of us. And certainly there needs to be some kind of resolution to the ongoing blockades and suffering of the people of Gaza that needn't immediately open one up to accusations of anti-Semitism simply to discuss it. That's why we have Isaac here, to ensure that when I'm saying that...
There's a Jewish guy, so he decides to do a little bit of...
I love the fact that he both wants, is like, she's actually doing something to open up the blockade. Like, even at the very, very least, it gives this guy an opportunity to say we should open up the blockade, which is exactly what she's doing. Like, I don't think that they thought they were actually going to be able to land. Maybe there was a small chance, and there was a small chance. But obviously, this is to draw attention to the blockade. And yet, he thinks that she's being manipulated in actually doing something to do the thing that he says should be done.
But what was his biblical reference to her? Is he gesturing towards, there's that conspiracy theory, Peter Thiel has said this before, that that she could be the Antichrist.
He called it a pagan.
Yeah.
Pagan. So this is interesting to me, right? Do we know what Thiel's involvement is in Rumble?
I'm sure there's some crossover.
Oh my God!
I'm just pointing out that
certainly the PayPal mafia has invested in it. To some extent.
I'm just pointing out that it's interesting that he's all about freedom and trying to articulate these thoughts in a way that isn't controlled by big Hollywood or big money, but. Cantor Fitzgerald, heavy investor in Rumble. Peter Thiel, likely investor in Rumble, at least involved. And they have been railing against Greta Thunberg for I don't know how long, because she shines a light on the exploitation of the environment and on capitalism and on genocide.
Forbes headline, Rumble, the J.D. Vance-backed YouTube clone is finally relevant. That was from December 2024. This is just from a little bit earlier, the first time they bring up this Greta Thunberg thing. And he mentions one of our faves.
Where that comes from. How would we be in this controversial time if we did not welcome the opinion of the Jew? they have a present. They're from the Old Testament. You're right, mate.
Yeah, doing well, doing well.
Can I get that APAC money, please? Because
Run out because they had to take Greta Thunberg away.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg, she's out there. Did you see? I want to see that post where, of course, someone predictably says, "Look, it's Babylon." We try not to overuse Babylon B. Our producer says because they're so good, you could use them all the time. But Israel seizes Gaza-bound activist boat and detains Greta Thunberg. Here's how the Babylon B handles that. Hamas agrees to surrender if Europe will take Thunberg back. Why don't we go? I want to go to Israel. Where's those people? Didn't Dave Rubin said he was going to take us to Israel?
You want to go to Israel?
Said he was going to take us to Israel. One brief stint.
He would be right at home there. He would be right at home. He's going to be a sex pest that hides from the authorities in his home country. There's a good amount of those in Israel. A high quotient, I would say. All right.
Well, we gave you a little bit of fun half in the free part of the show, ladies and gentlemen.
More like the I need to take a shower half.
Exactly.
How do you order a sound drop up in here? I'm going to have to consult later about that.
We'll talk about it after. But the quote, I think, from Peter Thiel was, "Doesn't the Antichrist come to power by acting as the catchaton, as Greta says she's doing?" I'm not sure what the catchon
It's probably some Lord of the Rings shit.
Okay. Either way. Oh, it's a force that withholds or restrains the Antichrist's full manifestation. Doesn't make it any less insane to hear that.
Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free half of the show, commercial free, but you also get the fun half, wherein you can IM us. We just gave you a little taste of some of the fun. In fact, that may be all the fun that we have today. I don't even know. It's possible. We'll take your phone calls. We'll take some IMs in the fun half today. Don't forget our merch. Selling like hotcakes. Hotcakes that you pre-order. Like you order before you get to the restaurant. So that they're there when you show up.
They're hot to go.
Check out the trucker hats, et cetera, et cetera. Matt, what's happening on Left Reckoning?
Left Reckoning tonight. We got Steven Semler on talking about political economy, where our investments going. Like, is it going to border fascism or is it going to things like Medicaid? The results are going to shock you. Also, David talked to two members of The Nation magazine on their 160th anniversary, and I would note that The Nation allows you to see all 160 years of their archives, unlike the National Review, which doesn't go back nearly as long and also doesn't want you to know what they were publishing in the 1960s.
Wait, who's coming on your show from The Nation?
A few Nation. I'm not sure David did the interview, but it's a couple of people from The Nation because they got a Disunited States issue out that's on their 160th anniversary.
Oh, interesting. Folks, see you in the fun half.
Three months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second. Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.